cast, but sometimes it's called for. All right. I don't know. I'm interested to see. The positions will definitely have a little bit of a handle on as far as how the game gets played going forward. But all right, down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it is ROOTminigun spawning as our blue Protoss, who I believe is blue for the first time in this series. This could be noteworthy. Check back after this game to see. His opponent spawning above him, it is SCAstrea spawning as our red Protoss player. Alright, so if it's cross positions, obviously you have a little bit more leeway in terms of you get to do your own thing. This is nullified for the most part due to the warp-in mechanic, but you can have 3-gate, 4-gate pressure, which is very common on this map. Why is it common? Well, you can't really hold an expansion. It's a pretty big ramp, and you have just so many opportunities to get your pylons down to warp on the high ground. Keep in mind, this... Rifkin is plugging me. Thank you, Rifkin. We have a huge ledge here. If your opponent decides to take an expansion, you can still warp in on high ground in Wings of Liberty, just not in Heart of the Swarm. So it's really easy to get pylons down there to try and abuse it. And there was, like, when the map first came out, the metagame, initially when a map comes into the tournament scene, it's always going to be relatively closed off. It's always going to be, I'm going to play it pretty safe. Oh, unfortunately, Astrea checking the wrong base. You cannot actually spawn here. It's only cross and vertical positions. Even on ladder now, which is something that I find quite entertaining. They finally understand. But the general metagame, as far as a new map being released, you always want to play really safe. Generally, that means you stay one base for a little bit longer than you normally would. But then, as players got more and more familiar, even in PvP, you started seeing players go for earlier expansions. And hence came the 4-gate, the 3-gate pressure. 4-gate not all that common anymore, but you do see a lot of 3-gate stock plays on Entombed. Entombed Valley. Also, for any of you Alfie fans out there, the 1-base Colossus. It's just, you have to say it. Alfie, he likes his Colossus. Alright. Despite the fact that he is going for a scout a little bit earlier than his opponent, Astrea has not yet scouted his opponent's base. Minigun, he knows what's up. Second gas is coming down quite early, which could indicate some sentry tech play. As far as building timings, they're quite similar. I mean, you'll never see something all too awkward. Let's see, I'm actually going to get the name tag up for me, because Minigun's color is bugging me out a little bit. And, oh, this is actually key. His opponent's Zealot is out before Astrea gets to his base, which means that, yeah, that shield damage, that hull damage, is going to come into effect if the probe ever tries to escape. Yes, he could have stayed in there for longer, a little bit longer, 5 seconds maybe, before that stalker got out. But instead, he had to get out of dodge in order for him to escape alive, which is quite important. You really want to keep that scouting worker alive, especially in a PvP. That can be your proxy checker, that can be your proxy pylon placer. LOL alliteration. Robotics Facility is going to be proxied here for Minigun. Now, this is going to be a warp prism play. We could see 3 gates, we could see 4 gates. It is up for grabs, but we have 3-gate pressure out of the way, on the way for Astrea. And this is going to be primarily sentry focused initially, and then he's going to warp into some stalkers. And yeah, there's that proxy pylon that I was talking about. I know my Entombed Valley PvP. And yeah, there's a 4th gateway for Minigun. Generally, when you're proxying a robotics facility, it's pretty freaking all in. You're pretty committed to actually doing some damage with it. So you see players go for a 4-gate instead of a 3-gate. Obviously, if you could start out as 2... Wow, actually. This is a straight-up build order counter, but the key thing for Minigun is actually sees this pylon. Yeah, this is going to not only supply block Astrea... Oh no, he actually just had a pylon finish up, so this will not supply block him yet. It will dampen his ability to put on pressure to his opponent. And he's still going to be worried about warping it offensively. He doesn't want to have to warp in units here and then walk them all the way down now. So not only is he going to be completely out of his base for this attack that Minigun is putting on, but he's not going to have the same amount of units as he would regularly with this pressure. And there the pylon finally realizes something is up. but I still don't believe he knows. There's a Warp Prism. It is a flashback to Game 1, where Minigun won decisively through Warp Prism harassment. A bunch of Zealots being warped in here in the middle of the line of his opponent. Going for the pylon, powering one of the gateways, I believe, will be depowered by this. Yeah, there we go. And the Zealot's unfortunately not getting the best engagement immediately, but he is using the Warp Prism to get them closer to the Stalkers. Very nice play there by Minigun. Warping in additional Zealots. Behind this, he does have 2 Stalkers pincering in his opponent. And this is just doing so much damage to the economy of his opponent. SCAstrea losing a fair amount of probes with this, but he's forced to pull them to fight. I mean, Sentry is the only other attacking unit that he has here. And SCAstrea's own Zealots are being sectioned off by his probes there, seeing as they are both melee units. Now, 14 workers for SCAstrea to the 21 of his opponent. It was a fair amount of damage dealt by Minigun. Was it enough? I believe it may have been, but we will see soon. He can't afford to lose the Warp Prism, though. This is very, very important. This keeps your opponent pinned back. So if he does decide to go for an all-in to follow this up, you will be ever more so prepared. Minigun donating a couple more units. Trying to use the Stalker a little bit for scouting before it dies, but he does keep the Warp Prism alive, just barely. Which is key to note. Now, his opponent? Alright. I'm Minigun. I have some gates. What am I going to do with it? I'm going to build more gateway units. I don't think he's going to try to go up for tech too soon, because it will spell death if his opponent actually decides to push off of this. But the good thing for Minigun is that his opponent, he only has 3 gates to work with. It's not like he had a robotics facility down. It's not like he went for a 2-gate robo expand or something. No, he's actually just as behind in tech as his opponent. So this is really, really, really important. Minigun trying for a sentry drop here. But, I mean, we see SCAstrea taking the supply lead, and that's going to be workers. I mean, he's been double chrono boosting probes since the second he held that initial push. I think Minigun's timing would have been a little bit more effective if he included more Stalkers with his army. But it's hard to call. We did have a scouting something that died there. I believe it was a Zealot, based on the sound of its death. Oh, a Stargate on the way from Minigun. I like this. I like this very much. No, this is not Heart of the Storm. You're not seeing things. Wings of Liberty, all day, every day, and a Stargate is coming down nonetheless in a PvP. Who would know? Oh, this is going unscouted by SCAstrea, just in the dark there. I always like to place pylons here because I don't want Warp Prisms warping stuff into my base, especially stuff that I can't see. And this is actually going to be very, very powerful. His opponent isn't quite positioned here, and if Minigun manages to force field his opponent's ramp off, this could be really, really difficult to hold. Oh, he's even drawing his opponent forward with his Zealot there. Yeah, he's going straight into position to force field that ramp off. Beautiful play by Minigun. Oh, although the force field isn't quite secure enough, and 4 of the sentries, and the Zealot get through. SCAstrea will be able to hold this, and for it, Minigun lost a lot of his sentries. Oh no, he does actually pick up the 3 that were lost. And very good force fields coming down from Minigun. Nice micro this far in these engages, although his opponent's Zealot count is getting a little bit out of hand. Minigun has to think about retreating. Although these are sentries, they can target down the Warp Prism, which is exactly what they're doing. In the orange, but it does not die. This is the Warp Prism that lives. Until it dies. Alright, so that will be a huge blow to Minigun. Not only did he lose all of his units, he lost 5 sentries, a couple Stalkers, and 4 or 5 Zealots with this. Now, there's a 30 supply lead for SCAstrea right now. Minigun, he wasn't producing probes through that. SCAstrea, 45 probes right now to 31. Minigun, he has Phoenix on the way, but it's going to take some time to get that tech to really be useful. He's banking on his opponent going Colossi, and him being able to counter them with a Phoenix as well as the support from gateway units. But that is not really the case, as the first Colossi is on the field. I don't know, is coming on the field. No, not even. He's producing an Immortal right now. I swear I saw a Colossus in the production of that robo facility. I swear the heat's getting to me. It's like 60 degrees for the first time in ever today. It's been like 10 degrees. I don't even know. But we have Estrella pushing, and these Immortals are just going to absolutely tear through the defense of his opponent. He will not have a Colossus, which will be really, really nice for Minigun, because he can actually force field and they'll mean something. But, having said that, army-wise, still pretty hefty. These Immortals pack so much punch. Alright, nice. Lifting that Immortal forward immediately. He does have energy to lift the other Immortal. Nice. If Minigun can hold here, he can potentially get himself back into this game. I like the fact that we see Estrella warping in Stalkers here to deter the Phoenix. It's a good call, instead of the Zealots that you would normally want. And one Immortal getting picked up yet again. Estrella can actually take this engagement though, but the Zealots of Minigun are forcing him back. So Minigun does hold, and that was a very cost-effective hold of that. He only lost one Phoenix, which is really the only... that and the couple sentries that he lost were really the only kind of snowball units that he has there. When you get enough Phoenix in a PvP, scary things happen. You may not think it, but it is mighty true. 4 additional gates coming down for Estrella now. He is not going to get a third base. He smells blood. He wants to kill his opponent right now. He's doing it live. And he actually has charge coming down too. Foregoing +2, I believe. Or is this +2? Yeah, it's +1 researching. So most likely we'll see him not continue with upgrades, and instead just power units. Overwhelm his opponent with sheer numbers. He does have to warp in Stalkers though at this point. He's continuing to warp in Zealots. He is committing himself a lot of resources to these Colossi. And really, 3 Stalkers is not going to cut it against this amount of Phoenix. And Minigun's continuing to produce them as well. Minigun, really, when you think he'd be down and out, he has fought back fervently into this game. Although there are 2 High Templar at this point, which will feed back. Yeah, that was a really nice call by Estrella. That is something that I would not have thought of, the Protoss noob that I am. Alright. Estrella looking forward to the engagement. He does need to have those Zealots in front of the rest of his units, though, as they do have charge. I guess he wants the Archon to lead to break the force fields. And here comes the engagement. A lot of Zealots immediately going down to the fire of these 2 Colossi. And unfortunately, the Phoenix just aren't enough. So many Zealots. Antigua will be this setting of our next map, and potential final map, too. Estrella is 3-1 in this series.